Today, we have another recipe from Solid Rock's own master chef. Today, Dermot Seberry is going to show you how to make scones. Off you go, Dermot.
Hi guys, Dermot here from the Solid Rock Church in Drogheda. Do you know what I've been missing seriously during this isolation is the fellowship after church on a Sunday where the hundreds of us get together for tea and coffee and home-baked cakes. Guys, going to have to do something at home. Let's do it ourselves. I'm going to do a little demonstration on home-baked scones, plain and fruit. So here we go. I'm actually going to make it easy for you, and I'm going to give you, this recipe has self-raising flour in it, which is basically flour that has already got baking powder in it. Therefore it doesn't need an acid to activate it. 450 grams of flour. We're going to put butter in there, 100 grams. We're going to put sugar, about 80 grams, but that's really to your taste. And I'm actually going to use milk. Now I'm using buttermilk just because I want to, because it tastes better than normal milk. I don't need it. We don't need it to activate it, but it's there anyway. And I've got some egg and milk ready to brush the top of the scones to make them nice and brown. Now, so let's begin. Let's put the flour, the butter, and I'm going to put a teaspoon should I say, of salt in there just for a bit of flavour. And we're going to switch it on at that stage, and we're just going to blend it together. So there we have it. That took about 20 seconds or so. So what are we looking for? We're just looking for a really light crummy kind of a texture there. At this stage I'm going to add the sugar. Now the reason I didn't add the sugar in the first place is because if it mashes in with the butter, it's very difficult for it then to blend into a crumb. So we added in just after about 20 seconds. Okay, there we go. Mix that in there. Now all we have to do is pop it into the bowl. Now remember, if you don't have a food processor, everything will already be in the bowl, so that's not a problem. I'm going to stand that to the side. Now, with good clean hands, have a look, and you'll see that it's that beautiful crummy texture, okay, like a biscuity texture, which is absolutely perfect. Now what we're going to do now, I'm going to make a little hole in the center, and I'm going to add in the buttermilk. Now what I've done is, because I know that baking powder and bread soda both activate quicker when it's warm, so I've actually put the milk into the microwave just for 20 seconds. So I'm going to pour the majority in that. You see it's a lumpy, you can see that's buttermilk. It's got that kind of like curd in it, and that's the acid that would normally activate bread soda, but because this is baking powder we don't actually need it, but it gives off a fantastic taste. Now the idea here is, please do not stir it with a wooden spoon, but rather mix it with a palette knife or a spatula. Now the reason for this is because if we use our hands or a spoon or a big flat wooden spoon, what's going to happen is we're going to activate the gluten, and we don't want that. We talked about gluten last week. We don't want this. We don't want to end up with a bread dough. The last thing we need is a bread dough, because we don't want our scones tasting or have the texture of bread. So we want to cut. You see the way I'm using the palette knife? We're going to cut the buttermilk and the flour mix together. So the less handling, the more beautiful the actual dough. And there we have it. Okay, now it's not meant to look like bread dough. That's the one thing we have to remember. So it will be a little bit sticky. It's meant to be slightly sticky. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit of flour, and we're going to dust the table, and then take all the dough out of the bowl onto the center of the table, and using floured hands just very gently push it together to form a light dough. Okay, just a single ball. Watch the way I tuck underneath. I'm just bringing it all together, but I'm not stretching it like bread, otherwise it will turn out bready. And that's exactly how I need it, guys. That's it. Perfect. I'm going to pat it down. Let's make sure there's a bit of flour underneath there so it doesn't stick, like we did with the pastry, making the pastry pie. So, I know it's not going to stick. Just remember, they're going to rise and they need to double in size in the oven. So whatever shape you're going to cut, remember it's got to double in size. So not too big when you start with. So I've quickly put together a second batch, and this time perhaps you like to put fruit in it. A lot of people like fruit scones. Now, if I could just show you the fruit, it's important to note this. Some fruit will be really hard, in other words extremely dry, and others are quite juicy. This one still has lots of sponginess in it, that texture there, so you know there's still quite a lot of moisture in it. They're the ones for the scones, because once they go into the oven, they're going to dry out naturally. So if they're already very dried, they're going to end up burnt on the outside of your scones. So careful to watch out which ones you buy. At this stage, just before you take it out of the bowl, you can add your fruit, as much or as little as you like, and then pretty much roll it around. It's best to do this while it's actually in the bowl, whereas the other one, nice to do it while it's on the table. So we're just going to push it in there. If you find your hands are getting a little bit sticky, just go straight for the flour a little bit so it doesn't stick. Push them in there, and all you're trying to do is evenly distribute the fruit. I'm going to put it out on the table now because that's pretty much there. Remember, we don't want, this isn't bread, so we don't want to knead it. So just pushing it out there, and once it comes together, that's nice. We tuck it under the bottom like that again and just flatten it out. Okay, there we go. Leave it to rest for about 10 minutes, and I'm going to cut that as well, and we'll have 2 trays to work with. We'll catch you in a minute. Now, I've left this for about 10 minutes just to rest, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take our cutter. Now have a look at this cutter. No matter what cutter you use, it's always good if you dip it into a bowl of flour first, because we want to take a solid cut straight down from the top to the bottom. If it's not floured, you'll find that it will stick halfway down and it will drag the top of the scone down to the bottom of the scone. So let's just have a look. We've leveled it off, as you can see. So it's about half the height of the scone that we want when it comes out of the oven. I'm just going to put it there and very securely press it. If it happens to come out, just lift it out and straight onto the baking sheet. Again. Press it really fast so that it cuts it nice and neatly, and give it a nice bit of a space between each scone. And the last one for the dough, if it falls back like that, just break it aside. And now we're left with this dough, which I like to just push together. Now again, try not form it like bread. Don't knead it, just bring it together gently, very, very gently. Shape it into a rectangle. And on the last attempt, I'm judging about how white it is so I can get 3 or 4 out of that. Just make sure you've got enough flour underneath there so it doesn't stick. And off we go again. Flour, cut. Flour, cut. And flour, cut. And there we have it. There we go. Let's maximize what we can. Waste not, want not. And there we have it. And here we have the final tray. So what you're looking for, guys, is just to make sure there's a space in between each so it can rise and expand sideways. And we're just going to finish them with a little bit of egg. I put a bit of milk in here because if you just use egg on its own, it's going to end up very dark. And I brush mine from the outside into the middle so that it doesn't run down the side. outside, brushing it into the middle. So what happens if it does fall down the side? Does it really matter? And what you'll find is that the egg will cook on the outside. And once the egg cooks, it prevents it from rising, believe it or not. So that way we don't like it to run down the side. And there we have it. And if you still wish, you can sprinkle a bit of sugar on that if you like a nice little crunch on the top as well. Pop them into the oven, 180 degrees for 20 minutes. And we'll see you in a second. And tray number 1. And tray number 2, the fruit scones. So there we have it. Scones and fruit scones, plain scones and fruit scones. So up to yourself, your choice. Fill them with butter, jam, whipped cream. But whatever you do, you must leave them, guys, for a good 20 minutes to cool. They're still busy cooking inside. How do you know a good scone when you see it? You've got to feel it, not look at it, and it's going to be super light. And these are absolutely super light, so we know they're fully cooked, fully raised. Fantastic. So after they've cooled down, if you like, just give them a little dust with icing sugar. I know these are going to be gone in about 10 minutes. Nice cappuccino, guys, as I said. Nice blob of butter, raspberry jam or strawberry jam, and some whipped cream. Fantastic. Guys, enjoy the recipe. Really, really simple. Take care, and we'll see you again for the next video. Bye now.